Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Raw Knuckles Podcast. Please like, follow, and subscribe.
To be able to watch it as a coach was crazy. I remember the first game I watched, we had to write reports. Little report graded the players. And I'm sitting there looking at the piece of paper, and Red's like, what's the matter? Like, I didn't even think these three kids played. I can't honestly tell you who did what. And I'm like, wow, I got a lot to learn about coaching.
Nyland going ballistic. He's a freaking madman.
I'm Chris Nyland, and this is the Raw Knuckles Podcast. All right, awesome stuff. Copy, great to see you, buddy. Welcome to the Raw Knuckles Podcast. Say hi to Tim Stapleton.
Hi, Tim. Nice to see you.
You too. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Copy, geez. You know, when I think back, we're teammates, and we're teammates with the Bruins. We're teammates with Team USA in the Canada Cup, which was, and I got a great story about that one, which we'll get to later. But I you know, I'm drafted in '78, local kid, grew up Boston, Bobby Orr, the whole thing. You were 3 years after me in the '81 draft. And I look and I see the career you had. It's incredible. The numbers you put up, 728 points, 1,178 games. First player to jump from high school to NHL, second American drafted in the first round. But what I want to get to is that elephant in the room. It's always there. I love the elephant in the room. The can't miss kid, 17 years old, cover of Sports Illustrated. And I try and put it in context in my life, what it would have been like for me at 17 to deal with being on the cover of Sports Illustrated and having a maturity level to be able to handle that. I was 17. I was still fucking smoking pot, riding around stolen cars, fucking causing trouble. And here's Copy on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Can't miss kid. What was that like?
It was like a big fog, you know. It just, you never really got caught up with it. You just wanted to play. It was right in the middle of deciding of going to college or turning pro or getting drafted first, I guess. But it was going to be a good chance of me going high.
Did this all come at you at 17, or were like, you know, when you were 14, 15, was that where it was starting?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say it did. Was I aware of it? Absolutely not. My parents had a great notion to keep it quiet. I didn't read much of anything. I didn't listen to anybody about how good I was. I just wanted to play. But I guess when it really started was the year before that. We had the tryouts. I was 16 at that time for the junior national team, the U20 team. And I made the team as a 16-year-old, but I was going to be 17 when I played it. And that's when it really took off. I think at that point, no U.S. player around was even considered to be a first-round draft pick. So I think my initial ranking was like second round, third round, late second, early third round. And then you talk about taking advantage of an opportunity in a single game. So I make the junior team. We go over to play. We do pretty good. I had a great scoring. I figured in almost every point. But the big one was we were playing against Canada, and Dale Howard-Chuck, who was going to be the number one pick overall, we go head-to-head. And it's the first time that the Canadian scouts and the American scouts could actually see head-to-head. One game. We beat him 7-4. I had 5 points, and I go from third round to top 5. Simple as that. And that's when it took off.
Right, and all them eyes on you, and that pressure. Did you feel that pressure, like that game? Did you feel pressure, or were you like, fuck it, I'm just going to go play hockey?
So the funny part about the whole thing was, you know Lou Variable, of course, right?
Lou Variable.
So he's our coach. And he was adamant about discipline. And the game didn't start out good. They were taking it. They were taking liberties on me because they knew who I was and they were protecting Dale and everything. Took a dumb penalty with like 3 minutes left, and I think we're losing 2-1 at the point. And Brickley skates over. Andy Brickley skates over. He says, "Lou said when your penalty's done, go right to the bench." He says, "You're not going to play the next period." And I said, "Okay, thanks, Brick." So when the penalty was over, I think there was like 50 seconds left. I said, "I'm not going to the bench." I said, "There's no way." I think there was like 8 seconds left. I scored to tie the game. And I go in and Lou's like, "Thank God you scored." He says, because he was sitting on the bench. I said there was no way I was coming off. And then the game took off from there.
So you have that big game and your stock rises once again. You know, and I talk about the pressure. And, you know, I remember back in the day, there were, you know, the rumblings of he's a cocky kid, he's this, he's that. But I find that, and I knew you later in life, in your career. Did you feel like you were a fucking cocky kid, or, like cocky copy, or did you just feel you were confident and people didn't understand you?
It's definitely perceived as cocky. There's no question about that. Confidence and cocky, it all depends on who you're talking to. There's no question. I was always frustrated as a player because I always wanted to win. I always wanted to score. And when it didn't happen, sometimes I got really frustrated and it perceives to be, you know, not getting along and upset with your teammates. But it was more, I was always upset with myself because I always wanted to be perfect.
Yeah.
And you find out later that you can't be.
Yeah.
What about your family? How were they? Did they add pressure to that, or they keep you grounded, or like what were they like in the whole process?
Like I said, I had just the most incredible people surrounding me. We had a high school coach that was very intelligent, went to Merrimack to play. He was a Army veteran. He knew how to keep me grounded. Our assistant coach was a Harvard grad by the name of Eddie Rossi. He would always keep me grounded. My parents, the same thing. And again, an article would come out, and my father would say, "Hey, don't believe that crap. Just keep going to play." And it was very easy for me to do that.
Yeah, sure. Your father being a cop too, right? Disciplinarian, yeah. And you know, help keep your head on straight, and that's awesome. A lot of kids don't have that, and you're lucky to have that. You know, the quote, "Nothing worries me. There's no need to be worried. It only causes problems. I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It's good. There's no confusion. There won't be any more last-minute decisions about what I should do. If I make enough money, I won't have to work anymore. If I retire in my late 30s and 40s, which you did, I'll be set for life." You set for life, Copy?
It's great. It really is. It's a great part of everything that I've had to go through. I mean, there's so much to when you retire. You don't get it, and I think all of us have a tough time to retire. You just want to go back and compete and play, and when it stops, it's hard. But I was fortunate enough to be able to deal with my kids at the time. They were younger. I never really coached them. I was kind of like the assistant, but I followed through their process, and it kept me into the game. I mean, I did some play development and things like that. I coached right out for 4 or 5 years, which helped. But yeah, we were very good. The people, like I said, surrounded me were very good. I work. I choose to work because you can't do nothing. The kids are gone now, so it's bored. My wife went back to work. I don't think I could never not do anything. That's for sure. But it was great going through that process with the kids, only because I learned a lot about what I missed. I think I had a lot of offers for scholarships. There's no question about that. And I never realized how difficult it was. To me, everyone gave me one, so it was easy. And I saw my kids' friends not get offers and have to go play junior. And then I see my kids go off to college, and I realized how much I missed from that. Would I ever change it? No, but there was a lot that I had no idea about that I was missing.
Yeah. and you see that in your kids.
What was the college you would have went to? I read at Providence. Is that the college you would have went to?
Yeah, I definitely would have went to Providence College. That was I liked them all. I visited all of them. I liked them all. Obviously, I would have loved to have stayed and played in Boston for the Beanpot, but my goal wasn't to go to college. My goal was to play hockey, and I thought it was a little bit quicker route if I went to Providence with Lou. He was really professional. I wasn't there to go to college to go to the football games and, go to the parties. I was there just to make myself better and move on. And I thought I had the best. I know I had the best chance with Lou at that school.
Yeah.
Did your dad want you to go to college at that time, or was he?
So that was the part. That was the tough decision. That was hard. Washington was very adamant about signing me. The negotiations were, it was pretty the same. Everybody pretty much got the same amount of money back then. Nobody jumped way ahead. I think my mom really wanted me to go to school for a year or two. I'm not sure what my dad thought, but he left it up to me, and it was interesting because it was a hard decision because we had a really good college league up here. Some pros played in it, and I would play, and I'd get 4 or 5 goals in one game, and I'm like, all right, this is great. I'm going to turn pro. And then the next game we lose, and I don't even get a shot on goal. I'm like, how the heck am I going to go play pro, and I can't even play in a college league? So it was a lot of ups and downs. There was a lot of thinking.
Yeah, that is a lot at that age. I remember I wanted to leave college after I was drafted, Copy. And my father, I remember he drove me to school one day. I said, I want to leave. He said, you ain't fucking leaving school. You're staying in school. I'll fucking kick your ass. And I end up staying another year.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I wish I just said, see you later. I'm fucking going, because I wasted that year at Northeastern. I didn't go to school. I fucked off. And I was immature, and I wasn't emotionally ready for any of that. And that's my next question. Now, you get drafted, all the hoopla around Bobby Carpenter coming to the Washington Capitals. Now, God, I look at those first 5 years. It's fucking crazy. 80 games, 80 games, 80 games, 80 games. Like that's kind of unheard of, but I mean, It's been done by a lot of guys, but to get through those first 5 years without any injuries and putting those numbers up is incredible. Coming to that first training camp, was there any trepidation of handling the rough stuff? You know how the NHL was. You watched the Bruins growing up. That physical part, were you intimidated at all by that? And what happened when you got there?
So the process that I have followed was like laid out. It couldn't have been any better. I mean, it was the most perfect way that somebody could break into the NHL. And I mean that by, like, I didn't get drafted by Edmonton where they had all those young stars. I don't know. I probably would have went to school for 3 years before I even gave that a chance. But with Washington having an older team, they needed the young kids to play right away. Gary Green was our coach, and we had lots of talks about where I was going to fit in. We had a tremendous older group. We had Oris Kinderchuk. We had the Hound Kelly.
Pat Ribble.
Alan Hanks-Laban.
Pat Ribble.
I mean, they all wanted me to succeed. They didn't want to compete with me. They were excited that I was there, and which was huge for me. They welcomed me with open arms. There was no U.S., Canada crap like that. I really felt comfortable. And then the best part of the whole thing was, for me, we went to Finland and Sweden for our training camp. So there was only 20 guys that went, and we played against the Rangers a couple of times. We played against a couple of the Sweden and Finnish teams. So it was like the team was already together. It wasn't like there was a tryout. And I was very successful. I scored a lot of goals in that camp, and it really solidified my spot. But those guys were awesome. I'll never forget that.
How, I guess, being an 18-year-old kid, being around all those vets, and especially in that era, okay, how did you deal with the off-the-ice stuff? Because that, man, I jumped in right away. Like, training camp, All of a sudden, I get called up with the Habs my first year, and next thing I'm across the street at the tavern with everybody drinking in the afternoon, and it was a daily thing, right? It was
You had some fun guys on the team. You had Lee Norwood, Rick Green. These are guys.
Yeah. So I didn't drink. It's funny because I met my wife. I was 15. She was 13. We didn't start to drink till the day we got married. I haven't stopped. Hold on. I lost the plot. So I didn't drink. So, I mean, I'm not saying I didn't have a couple of beers in the summertime or some off time, but I wasn't a daily occurrence to me. I had a Finnish roommate that all he did was drink all day. But it was interesting. So again, this is where they came in. This is how great they were. We're on the road, first big road trip, and we're all going to go here. And I'm like, I don't want to go. And or his kids were like, you have to go. You have to come. Yeah. And I'm like, all right. So I go and I sit there and everything. And then the next thing they're like, okay, you can't have 7 Cokes. We got to change that. You can drink something else. So they really, really helped. They really did.
I guess. So the first 5 years, bang, everything's going great. What happens in year 6 in Wash? You play 22 games. What happens there?
So I had a really tough time with Brian Murray as a coach. It was more of a personality thing. He was going to tell me how to play and everything, and how to act and what to do. And obviously it was personal for me. It wasn't like he was trying to coach me, and it just blew up. It just came to a head, and David Boyle says, well, he says, we got to get you out of here and trade you. And I think he had a deal made, and something had fell through. And next thing you know, I forget how long I was home for, probably 4 or 5 weeks while he worked on a trade. But it was just a personality thing. And I know because talking high, I'll give you an example. So one of the games I score, we a couple minutes left, and we got a 2-1 lead against Philadelphia, and 30 seconds left. There's a scramble, and Tim Kerr scores and ties the game. And Brian calls me the next day, and he's screaming at me about you gotta knock him down. You can't. I went to lift the puck up and lift the stick up, and I missed it. And he scored. He says, you got to knock him on his ass. You this. I said, Brian, I'm 180 pounds. He's 230. I said, I'm not knocking him on his ass. Well, you got to do it. And I'm like, that ain't gonna happen, And then years and years and years later, we got little Corey Millen, and Lemaire starts screaming at Corey because Corey is pounding on the guy's back. He says, you're not going to knock him down. Lift his stick up. And I'm laughing. And Jacques says, you think that's funny? I said, no, there was a coach that told me to knock him on his ass years ago. So I realized how great a coach Jacques Lemaire was. But, we just had a personality problem, and it just came to a head.
Well, it's funny. Brian Murray, when he was coaching Wash, and Lemaire was coaching us in Montreal, and we were playing a game in Wash, and it was on in Canada. And we were down 3-1 with like 40 seconds left. He called a fucking timeout, Brian Murray.
I remember that. And
I stood up. I leaned back, and I said to Eddie Palchek, the trainer, I said, give me that fucking ball of water. And Eddie said, what are you going to do? You were there, right?
Yeah,
I fucking stood up, and Brian Murray's standing up on the bench, Tim, looking down. The players are surrounding him, and I fucking rifled the water ball, and I hit him right in the fucking head. Boom. He was fucking, right, Coffee? And it's funny, and God rest his soul, Brian Murray. I met him later in life one night in Montreal, and we had a great conversation. He was a really good guy. I liked him. Yeah, he was a hot ass. Yeah. He had his ways. I don't know if you ever buried the hatchet with him. I got to.
I did. I did, so to speak. I did. Yeah, I did have a really great conversation. The kids were playing in a hockey tournament up there in Ottawa, and we went to the game one night, and I went and found him, and we sat and talked
for you. Good for you.
It was really good.
That's a big man.
Chris talks about, has mentioned in the past how great of a coach Lemaire was. I mean, did you feel the same way?
Oh, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, the level that he's at it's unbelievable. And you can't really talk about it because it's a crazy level. The things, the chemistry that he puts players together, the line shifts, who goes on, who goes out. I mean, he sees the game at a whole different level as a coach.
Yeah, he's a different cat, and we're going to get to that Jersey end at some point here. But so you go to the Rangers to trade. You're not there. You're there a short time, 28 games, and then you're off to LA. Well, what goes on there? What goes on in New York? It's just not.
Well, that was Espo. Everybody.
I get it. I get it.
You know, and I hated New York. I'm not a city person at all. And when you got to leave at 2:00 to get to a game because of traffic, my head was not in it. I just did not enjoy that at all. It's so the play was affected. Obviously, if you're not a happy player, you're not going to play well. And
no, and then
it was a tough time.
You go to one gridlock to another gridlock, LA.
Right.
Fuck, you have to take a helicopter to the game there. Well, so you're there 3 years, and then, it's 2 years, 19 goals and 11 goals in the last year there, and 26 points in 39 games. Pretty much your average if you keep going. And then the trade comes. How happy are you to get traded home to the Boston Bruins?
Initially, I really wasn't.
Okay.
It took me a long time. Okay, so there was a couple of things to that. I was hurt, and I wasn't going to be able to play for 4 or 5 weeks. I had broken my navicular bone. So now I get traded to Boston, I can't play. And how did you get traded for a hurt guy? And so it started out bad. It started out really bad.
I'm sure. Kevin Paul DuPont must have been wondering, right? Kevin Paul DuPont must have been saying, what the fuck did we get this guy for? He's hurt, right?
And, I hear through the grapevine, Terry O'Reilly's the coach, and Harry bounces this trade off him. And obviously, Jay is a fan's favorite, Jay Miller, and Casper's a all-time checker. And I guess Taz just snaps and says, if you ever do a trade like that, I'll quit, and this, that, and the other thing. Well, Harry does it. So now I'm not even in good with this coach already. I never even played a game. And it was really tough. And Taz was all over me. I could not make a mistake without it being on the video and yelling and screaming at me. And I'm like, this sucks. This sucks. This is not what I wanted when I got back home.
All right.
And again, Taz was very intense. We have a phenomenal relationship now. We've talked a lot about the past and what happened. And again, it's great. But one of the most important things of why everything came after that. So I don't even know. I just got traded twice, and I'm like, I can't ask for another trade, especially from my hometown. So I don't know what to do. And so Mike Milbury becomes coach. Taz retires, and Mike says, I need to talk to you. I'm like, all right. So we meet up at the Portsmouth Circle because he was up in Portland. So we meet and we talk. We go over the last couple of things. He says, listen, he goes, I don't care if you score a goal. I just want you to play smart. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. You're going to have every opportunity. I never felt more comfortable and more excited about playing hockey again. I finally found a coach that was really happy with me and interested and wanted to help me. And that was why we ended up going to the finals and went to the semifinals 2 times after that. Mike was phenomenal for me.
Yeah, he was. I loved playing for Mike, and we had our time together there in Boston. I got there 91, 92. I got there in 90, actually. I retired 91, 92. You had been there. And, I think back, copy some of the shit that happened. I remember your injury, certainly in Montreal, shattering your kneecap. I told Timmy about that. That was could have been a career ender for you. How difficult was that to get over? Right? I seen it. The therapy, the shit you went through?
Well, it was supposed to.
Yeah.
And end it. So what happened was I go into the boards. It's bad. I don't get a chance to see the doctor right away because it was a Saturday, and the Patriots and Bert Zarens was in Buffalo. So, and the team had gone on to Buffalo. They both actually had played there. I got on a plane and I came home. So I don't get to see him Sunday. I go in to see him Monday, and he takes all the X-rays and shows me the picture. What are we going to do? And he says, well, you can't play anymore. He says, we have to take it out. He says, there's too many pieces. And I'm like, really? He says, yeah. He says, I said, when are you going to do this? He said, I don't know. There's no hurry. He says, just go home for now. So I go home, retired. Tuesday, Wednesday, he calls me back. He comes in, does some more stuff, and he's like, he says, this just isn't going to work. You can't play without a kneecap. And you think, oh, fake kneecap for this? And he's like, you can't. So I'm done. Saturday, it's Friday night, midnight, I get a call from Bert. He says, I want to see you in my office at 6 o'clock tomorrow. All right. So we go in, and he says, listen, we can try this one thing. I said, what do you mean? He was at a symposium with some doctors, and there was a Dr. Jupiter, Bert, Dr. Boyle.
Jesse Jupiter.
And they had these new screws that were going to come out that were made for thin bones. And they said, we can try this. And he says, but there's going to be all kinds of chondromalacia, and you're going to have to sit on a couch or in bed for the next 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and use this CPM machine that's going to smooth all the chondromalacia down. And if you're willing to try that, you have a chance. So yeah, of course I will. So they go in to do it. I think the operation took like 6 hours. They took out all the pieces, put it together like a jigsaw puzzle, put all these screws in it. I think it was 6 or 7 screws, and meshed that and everything, and ended up doing the rehab and ended up playing. It was funny. I was sitting there with Mike. Mike was always going out back, and I just got out of the hospital, was sitting there at the game, and he's like, he says, that's too bad about your career. He says, it was good and everything. I said, Mike, I'm going to play. He kind of smirked the way Mike smirks. And I said, you want to bet on it? He says, yeah. He says, of course. I said, I'm going to play another 10 years. So the first time I saw Mike after that, I said, Mike, I'm sorry, I lost you. I lied. I only played 9.
Yeah. And shit. And you brought up, I love playing for Mike Milbury. My time in Boston, I fucking go through a wall for that guy. I love playing for him. Yeah, I'll never forget Copy. He come skate up behind me that year and said, I'm going to name you to the All-Star team. I'm there, would you fuck off?
I remember that.
And I'm like, don't do it. He said, no, I'm doing it. I'm going to name you and Brian Skrulin because I appreciate guys like you, and I'm the coach. And they don't fucking name me. I don't care. I don't want to do it. And he said, I'm going to do it. And he did it. And as fate would have it, I broke my fucking ankle.
I was there too.
Playing basketball.
Playing basketball.
Copy was there.
I was shooting.
Fuck. What
Did you guys know each other really well when you got there, Nux? I mean, I know you guys played together at the U.S. team.
No, U.S. team. Fuck. Here's the deal. We played Canada Cup together. And here's the incident. And we're playing. I have fought Wendell Clark earlier in the game and slammed him down. He hurt his back again. He had a bad back, and he probably shouldn't even have been playing. But he went down the ice, and he went off. So, plus Canada, Badger Bob was our coach, all right? And Badger Bob, he said, we're going to be playing Canada 5 times exhibition. We're going to need guys like Knuckles and Joel Otto. And because Canada, it was a fucking vicious rivalry, U.S. and Canada. And again, we weren't at the point we are now when we play Canada. But anyway, so we're behind the net. And I ran Rick Vive. And Vive turned around and fucking chopped me on the head. There was only less than a minute left in the game. And I was playing with Copy. And I turned to I want to fucking give it to him. I'm going to drop my gloves and pound the piss out of him. Copy come in and just fucking smoked him from the side and jumped on him. And I'm now, you prick. Fuck, I wanted to do that. But Copy was there. like a good teammate. And then the next day, Tim, I'm coming into the rink, into the forum to walk in. And I turn the corner. I'm with Neil Broughton, right? Neil wouldn't say shit if he had a mouthful of it. And he's just a nice kid. He's a great kid.
I was right in front of you guys.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah. And I come walking around the corner, and there's Rick Vibe. I wanted to get him the night before, and I couldn't. And we lock eyes. And he looks at me. So what the fuck are you looking at? Just go in the rink. I'm there, hey, fuck you. Who do you think you are? And like Gretzky's there, all Team Canada, Scott Stevens. And I walk up to him and fucking bitch slap him. I slapped him right in the face, and he went back on the hood to the car. And then Gretzky's agent, Charlie Henry, come over. Knuckles, calm down, Chris, come on. And not one of his fucking teammates did anything. Anyway, that was the big fucking deal. But yeah, we had a blast Canada Cup, huh? They like,
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was an honor for me to play for my country. Whoever thought, like, I'm not going to play for my country, fucking guy like me. And to get that opportunity was unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
It's unreal to put I played in the World Championship. Just put the USA jersey on. It's unbelievable. Yeah. It is.
It is.
You know, I agree.
That was one of the really, and Badger Bob fucking afforded me that opportunity. Here's the deal, Tim. He cut fucking Brett Hull and named me Brett Hull. But Brett Hull, in defense of naming me, was a fat fuck, right? He was like fucking 20 pounds overweight, and Badger was trying to send him a message because he had him in Calgary too. He showed up to Calgary, a fat fuck. And yeah, he didn't play, right? So
that was an important one for me, a real important one for me, because that was the year that Trottier played. So I roomed with Trottier for those 3, 4, 5 weeks or whatever we were there, and he was incredible. I mean, I just never learned so much. And
yeah, he was a wealth of knowledge, right?
Oh, incredible.
Trotz. And then, of course, we
became friends.
We had the director of off-ice activities, Rod Langway. I love Roddy. Oh, come on, boys. Right?
Oh, Roddy's the best.
Awesome.
Yeah,
where was that played at? Where did you guys play this at?
It was all over. Like, we were in Nova Scotia to Edmonton to Vancouver to everywhere. I mean, we were on those planes all the time.
Hamilton, Ontario.
Hamilton. We had our camp in Minnesota, and we were there for a long time in Minnesota.
Colorado Springs, 1 year.
Yeah, right? Colorado Springs, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, shit I would have never got to do. I was so hoping, 1980, right? I did the regional tryout for the 80 Olympic team, and I was just hoping to get to Colorado Springs to that.
Right.
No invite. So I was like, okay, fucking, the writing's on the wall. Obviously, they picked the right team, but I just wanted to get to Colorado. I'd never been to Colorado. Like, take me out there. But, so the time of the bees, you bounce back, you get back out there, fucking 48 points in 60 games. Our last year together in Boston. And I end up going back to Montreal. You go back to Wash for a year, bing, bang, you're out of there. And then you go to the pesky Devils, and you finally get to meet the fucking coach who I would do anything for, who just really took my game to another level, in Jacques Lemaire. What was that like when you got there with Lemaire? Did you kick it off right away? Because you've reinvented yourself from going from that 50-goal scorer, the guy who's gonna put numbers up all the time, to a guy that was just as needed and just as effective as that checking forward, that awesome center iceman you can put out there to fucking win any draw, kill penalties, just a consistent 200-foot player.
So that's it. So I went to that camp without a contract. I think I actually went a day late or 2 days late. Just things weren't working out. But Lou, I went there with Lou because I knew everyone kept saying my knee wasn't good. That's the reason why I had a tough time in Washington. they had kind of spread some rumors that his knee, that's why he didn't play. He's not good. So nobody really was interested in signing me for anything significant because they thought it was my knee. So they all wanted me to go without a contract, and the only one I trusted was Lou. I'm like, he'll give me an honest opinion whether I can play or I can't play. So I showed up a day or two late. So practice starts, and, I want to prove myself. So there were really no lines. It was Lemaire's first year. It was Robinson's first year. It was Coote's first year. It was technically Marty's first year. So everything was new. So we just kind of practices. There was no lines. We just kind of went. And anytime we'd do some checking stuff, I would jump in or penalty kill and jump in. So finally, after a couple of days, Lemaire, he kind of yells at me. He says, "Will you just get out of the way and stay over there?" Right? And I was like floored. I'm like, "Well, this is done here. This ain't working out." And then Larry heard it, and Larry saw it. And then afterwards, Larry said, "Listen, we'll talk. We'll talk after." And I said, "Okay." So he must have talked to Lemaire. So then I went in, and Jacques says, "Listen, I apologize." He says, "But you have a place. I know what you're going to do for me. I know the role you're going to play." He says, "I need to figure out everybody else. You keep getting in the way." And so I said, "Oh, okay, good." So now I knew that I was what my role was going to be. It was clear. He was under the impression that I knew Lou had talked to me, but I had no idea. I thought I was going to go back home.
Yeah.
So that's the relationship we had right off the bat. And again, like you said, that's one coach that you'd do anything for. And it was great because he could rely on me to talk to Dano, to talk to Nita, to talk to Scotty, to talk to all these different players that were having a tough time with this. So I was kind of like the mediator in a way.
Yeah.
With Larry, and it was great. It was a fantastic role that I thought was one of the best ones ever.
And you need that because, Tim, you don't understand Lemaire, right? He was a fucking Hall of Fame player, put the numbers up every year, could play in his own end. He was a 200-foot player. And he had a really hard time coaching superstars. Right, Copy?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did.
He didn't like it. He fucking hated it. He knew he needed them, but he hated coach. He wanted to coach guys that he could get them to be better. And he wanted to get the superstars to play within his system and not just do their own thing. You got to play in this system, and that's hard to do, right? Right? He tried it with Lafleur here. In Montreal when he first coached here, Lafleur came. Look, he's coaching the guy he fucking assisted on majority of his fucking goals, and Flower didn't come into the game that way. He didn't play a system. He never played a system. It was just fucking go play hockey. And when Jacques came, he expected Guy to play within the system that everybody else was, and Guy just couldn't get it. He was always out of position, just fucking, when you trap. And that was his big system. You have to be in position. You have to be on your toes. And Guy just couldn't do it. And it took a toll on their relationship that apparently they buried the hatchet before Guy passed, which I'm so happy. But it was kind of foolish that the two didn't talk for so long. It's so hurtful. Life's too fucking short. But Jacques and that, back to Jersey Devils and Jacques.
Well, that worked. So it worked well for Jacques because of the team we had. He had pushback. There was no question. Yeah. Scotty Stevens wanted to step up and hit somebody and give up the 2-on-1, but the guy was dead, and but that wasn't what he wanted. That wasn't the way he played. Yeah. He used to always yell to Nita, "What are you doing? Why are you behind the other team's net?" And Nita would say, "Well, I got back." And Jacques would say, "I don't want you to get back. I want you to be back." And it was hard for Jacques. And it was a lot. I mean, Riche was Riche and Pepe was Pepe. And it was a lot. So they slowly started to buy it. I mean, slowly. And we were not in the playoffs. We made a push towards the end. We finished 5th. We didn't have home ice the first year. So the first year against the Rangers. So we start to do well. We go into Pittsburgh. We lose the first game, and we really started to come together now. Everybody started to get on board, the last 6 weeks. We go to the semifinals against the Rangers. Should have won. We didn't. We had not any experience. The only ones that had ever won was Claude, Lemieux, and Steph, and they were kids when they won. They didn't even know how they won. So we had all new players, and that was the key for Jacques' success in a way, because we had an older team that didn't win, and we all decided individually, hey, if we don't listen to this guy, we're never going to win. And we all started to buy into the system, and we saw the results, we saw it work, and then I'm telling you, the minute we lost that game to the Rangers, the Game 7, we knew we'd win next year.
Yeah.
There was no doubt that we weren't.
What about for you, Bobby? Was it you scored 53 goals at one point? Like, was it hard for you to adjust to that?
So, not a bit, because I was hurt. I had lost a step, and anybody that doesn't want to transition their game to play another 9 years defensively because they're too stubborn to score goals and be on the power play, they don't love the game.
But not anybody can do what you did.
No.
First of all, okay, I agree to that.
For sure, I agree.
I agree to that.
Yeah.
But you got to at least want to try to do it.
Yeah.
Some people just you think Brett Hull's ever going to try and play defense?
No, because like superstar guy, like I was an offensive guy. You immediately feel like the creativity's getting taken out of your game, right? Like for a superstar, right? Like it's like
right.
It sucks.
But if you feel as though you are worthy and it's a value of the team, I tell you, it's interesting because I saw both ends of it, and that's why I have such tremendous respect for what I did and how I did it. So we had Doug Jarvis, who was the best checker, and I was the goal scorer in Washington. I was pissed that he'd get on the ice. I said, what the hell is that little kid getting on the ice? I want to go score a goal. I hated Doug because we've been winning, and we'd be winning, and Brian would have him out there checking the guys. I'm like, good, let's go get another goal. Well, 12 years later, I'm now Doug Jarvis. I have a whole new respect for that role and understanding of what he did, and it just made me a full-rounded player, which I love. And honestly, I think the first time I saw Doug in years, I apologized up and down because I didn't have no respect for that role whatsoever until it's you, and you have to take pride and do it.
Javi was my first centerman. He assisted, him and Bob Gainey assisted on my first NHL goal.
All right.
And he was an incredible defensive player, but his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
You could certainly, it's a lot better when your role is defined, right? And
it is.
I didn't have a problem getting my role defined, but having and my role never really changed, but it got tougher to do.
Sure it did.
Your role, I'm sure it got tougher to score too, but being able to reinvent yourself and have a guy that certainly understood that and you was able to tap into that. Fuck, Copy.
So,
you were awesome fucking in the face-off circle. You were a fucking gritty player all the time, didn't take shit. Like, you were invaluable for that fucking Stanley Cup. And that had to feel great after all the years, right? Fucking getting an opportunity to lift that thing up. It had just incredible feeling for you.
It is. And like I said, you start thinking about that when you're a kid. You're 5-4 years old, dreaming about winning a Stanley Cup. Yeah.
Bobby Orr.
But like I said, the importance that Jacques put into that role and made you feel was great. Plus, if the Devils paid according to the way you did your job, and it didn't matter whether you were a goal scorer or a checker. If you did your job well and you were successful at it, they paid you. And I used to always laugh. I used to always tell Lemaire, I said, would always laugh about this. I said, it's strange how this game works. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, I got 50 goals and got $250,000. I said, I get $1 million a year for poking the puck off someone's stick. But the thing was, it was a mental part of the game too, because if you weren't ready to do that job, Barry Lemieux would make you look stupid. And now you're -2, you're -3, you're not playing no more because your team's down and they're playing the goal scorers. So you always had to think about who the best player was, how you were going to check them, how it was going to work. And, it was work. I mean, it wasn't like it seemed to be a simple job, but You got to be ready.
Yeah, and
No, it's an awful. I agree. I think, like, to yourself, were you more fulfilled, like, shutting down their top players, or a guy that would score a hat trick? Like, what it meant more to you? This is
Both.
yeah.
I was ready for both roles at the time. Scoring goals was great, and if I could never have done it vice versa. I could never have been a checker first and then all of a sudden become a goal scorer.
No, that's true. That's true.
So
Yeah.
I think you take pride in what you do, and you're always an immature young player. And that's why when these people get on these kids that are 17, 18, 19 years old, and he's not going to make it, they're kids. They're immature.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do. Like I said, I had no respect for Doug Jarvis until I got to be Doug Jarvis. And, you learn, you grow up. And so to be able to take that role, yeah, sure. Would I have loved to have been able to get 5 or 6 goals in the Stanley Cup finals and win? But I didn't really care. I just wanted to win. So if I had to check somebody to win, and they had a heck of a team too. Oh my God, Fedorov, Eisman, all those guys. And it was a lot of work, but
you guys just swept them, right?
We did, yeah. We did.
I was a big Red Wings fan, so
yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
No, that was crazy. I was gonna say, like, towards the end of your career, like, you started with the 80 games every year. Do you think your role towards the end of your career had a lot to do with playing less games, or were you just, like, I know you were hurt, or you were kind of getting older then, but that's a tough role.
I rested a lot. Jacques was great like that because he knew. I mean, honestly, because we were always winning going into the third period. I would play 13 minutes in the third period. And it was demanding. And so if I started to play too much and we were in the game 65 or something and we were getting on the plane to go somewhere, Jacques would come after the game. He says, listen, you played a lot today, so why don't you just go home, take the day off tomorrow. We'll see you Monday at practice. He paid attention to my health and my conditioning. And so, I mean, I would have never done that. I would have wanted to go play all the time.
Yeah.
But he was good. He was good.
So, Copy,
yeah.
So you win that elusive Stanley Cup, which is awesome. Go on. That last year, 98, 99, what makes you walk away from the game? What makes you say, listen, I've had enough. I can't do this anymore?
So Robbie took over. Robbie Couture. Jacques had retired.
Oh, that'll do it.
No. So Robbie wasn't much of I believe in a checker, so my whole role had changed. So I could see that the end was coming here. So I went in and talked to Lou, and they said they're going to make a lot of changes. And he says, if you want to play somewhere else, feel free to go play. And I said, okay. So I had a jump start on the free agency because Lou gave me permission. And there was a few places. Again, they talked about my knee, my age, and everything. And again, it's funny. They say you play 1,100 games, but with the playoffs, it was almost 1,400, and it takes, like you said, it takes its toll. So the only place that I had the opportunity to go was Tampa. They only wanted to give me a 1-year deal. It was a great deal, but I wanted 2. I didn't want to go all the way down there with my family for 1 year. I didn't want to go without them. So we went back and forth, and I kept bouncing all this off. Lou was incredible with me and how to work through this process. And he says, you can coach here. You can get on with John Cuniff and Red and coach, and you have a job here, whatever you want to do if that doesn't work out. So I just think I just didn't. We had kids late, so my son was born in '97, so he wasn't even 2 years old yet, and I just didn't want to go away and leave my wife with the kids. And I was battered. I had the stomach tear, which I never mentioned to anybody, so I knew that kind of would have had to get fixed.
The hockey hernia.
Yeah, I did. I knew I had it, and Billy knew I had it. And it was a kind of to justify it. If I went to Tampa with injured in a 1-year deal, I couldn't justify it, but 2 years I could because I had plenty of time to fix it.
Cha-ching.
Those are all the things that go through your mind.
Of course. Why? Fuck, you can't blame a guy because, you know, when you're coming down to the end of making that kind of money, it's not easy to walk away from, right? So you do.
And
you go. Yeah. Go ahead.
At that point, like, you know, at that point now, it's not the money at that point. It's just you want to keep playing. I wanted to get 20 years, you know. That was something, which was a stupid way to judge a career by a number of years. But at the time, it makes sense because you don't lie to yourself. You bullshit yourself, you know, and you tell you things that aren't important.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I felt really comfortable with what Lou was going to offer me and where I was going to go with that. And Albany was really close. The family was a nice place to raise the kids. So we talked hours and hours with my wife about it. And it was a hard decision for sure, no question, but it was the right one.
But coaching's what you wanted to do?
No, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no clue what I wanted to do. So I remember having discussions with my wife. I didn't really want to go coach, to be honest with you. If I wanted to retire. I mean, I had played hockey for 35 years. And to go back into the rink again, I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to stay up in New Hampshire and ice fish and ski and snowmobile. You know, that's retirement.
Yeah.
And so all the conversations that my wife and I would have, you know, she's like, "Wow, you think it's going to be fun," but she says, "There's nobody here. There's no restaurants open. They don't get snow to January or February. Lake don't freeze to February. What are you going to do for 5 months?" And, you know, it started wearing on my head like, okay, she's right. What should we do? And then Luke wanted to know, it was a deadline. He says, I need to know. I have to fill the spot in Albany. He says, and I said, I need the weekend. So he gave me the weekend. And at the end of the day, we talked, and she said something to the more of like, hey, listen, you might not have this opportunity to go coach again. We can always come back here. The kids are resilient. They're young. They're not even in school yet. We can go to Albany for a year, turn around and come home if you don't like it. And I said, okay, that makes sense. So we went, told Lou would do it. We went down, and I loved it. It was great. It was a great second way to retire. You know, you're still around the game.
Yeah.
And that so I'm in Albany, and the first year I retire, and learning a ton. I mean, I thought I knew the game of hockey, but to be able to watch it as a coach was crazy. I remember the first game I watched, we had to write reports. Little report graded the players, and I'm sitting there looking at the piece of paper, and Red's like, "What's the matter?" I'm like, I didn't even think these three kids played. I'm like, I can't honestly tell you who did what, and I'm like, wow, I got a lot to learn about coaching.
Right.
But then it got better pretty quick. They were great. John Cuniff was phenomenal to me. Showed me how to do things, how to look at the game. The video, I spent hours and hours and hours watching the video, but that was huge, and I hated it. I hated watching the video, but it was huge for me to watch the game and see things for the first time as opposed to looking at it over and over and over again. And then at the end of the year, I still was in touch with Larry Robinson a lot, and I don't know, 7-8 games left. Robbie gets fired, and Larry takes over, and he wants me to come down and to finish. So I do. And we ended up winning. We ended up beating Dallas.
Yeah.
So that was, now Larry's like, you got to come back to New Jersey. I'm like, I can't move my family again. I said, I can't. I said, I love it in Albany. I want to go there. So now I stay in Albany. They're getting close to go again. And Larry's calling, what do you see? What do you see? What do you see? So they get to the playoffs. Larry said, I want you to come down for the playoffs. So I said, well, check with Lou. We go to the finals. We lose to Colorado that year. So the coaching was great for me. It was really, we went a long way every year. And then the next year I didn't go. That's when Pat Constantine was there. I stayed in Albany. And then the next year after that, Lou finally got me down to New Jersey again. He's like, you got to come down. We're going to have you coach with Pat Burns. And we win again. So it was a great move to go back to coaching.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you ice fishing or
winning Stanley Cups.
Ice fishing or go win a couple cups.
Yeah, like, it was pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
so, Copy,
it really is.
I got to ask, when you were coaching, how much of what you learned from Jacques Lemaire did you apply to your coaching game?
Everything.
Right.
I would have never learned how. John kind of had. They all had the
Connie
same.
was good. Yeah.
Red was defensive minded. Any good coach was that. It's the way that Lemaire portrayed it that was a little different. But
Yeah.
hockey's not a tough game. It's not. We don't have to reinvent it. It's pretty simple. You have the puck, you go to offense. You don't, you play defense. And it's just how Jacques perceived it and how a coach perceives it to make it more successful or not. I mean, but the hard part about coaching was, especially when you're getting into the playoffs, everybody asks, what's better, winning as a coach or as a player? There's no difference between winning it, but as a player, it's a lot easier mentally, a lot more difficult physically, because all you got to do is worry about yourself. A coach, you got to worry about 23 people, and you got to worry about who's upset, who's mad, who's this, who's that.
And there's definitely guys you hate on the team. You can't say who, but you know.
I was good because I had just come from playing.
Yeah.
It was really good for me. Now, when they had some new players that came, I had a tough time. But when I retired, almost everybody I had played with. So it was actually easier. 3 years with Pat Burns, it was very difficult. Yes. That's when the players that, they're looking at you like, who's this guy? I've been here for a long time, right? Shut up. You're right on that.
And it's funny we say that because Copy, I coached you. I was assistant coach with Jacques that year. And I had an extremely difficult time because I had a lot of guys on that team that just didn't like me. Dano, Scott Stevens fucking hated me. John McClain hated me. I knew it. And I remember Lemaire always saying, listen, don't get any confrontations, which I didn't. And if they look at you on their bench, like fuck you, just look over their head, ignore them.
And just breathe.
Breathe. Fucking right. I had to breathe. I was ready to punch somebody in the fucking mouth, but I didn't. And I'll never forget Jacques. And it was so hard. I mean, I remember Steve Smith come in one time and I wasn't playing him. Or I held him back a shift. And a lot of times Jacques would fucking tell me, here. Like, he'd look over, he'd go like this. He'd put 3 fingers up and he'd go, just like that. Done for the night. So I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do? Play him and get in shit? But the guy was playing shitty, so you had to sit him. And then the other guy, Scotty, fuck. If I didn't put him first on the power play, he wanted to fucking shoot me. He would fucking grip his stick and look at me like fucking want to kill me. And Jacques said, never put him first on the power play. Never. He plays 5-on-5 against the top lines. He kills penalties. And if you put him out, you put him out at the end of a power play. What am I going to do? So I got it. And I also got it. And I got how people thought they had 2 head coaches because I'm not a fucking ass kiss. I wasn't good for that. But
no, I know.
I did the best I could when I was there and for him. And I certainly understood his system inside and out. I knew it, but I had to be on my own.
He hated the iPads. He hated iPads. What do you think of those on the bench, Garfy?
I fucking smashed them things.
Do you like those, Garfy?
No, I hate them.
Yeah. Copy's old school.
Him.
So Copy. Yeah. So the coaching, you win a couple cups. You got a cup as a player. It's fucking awesome. After hockey, other than the coaching, I'm sure you enjoyed that. You ran a marathon. Fucking unbelievable. Mm-hmm. You pushed Dena Lang, the girl who got ended up getting paralyzed at the outdoor game at the Patriots Stadium. What the hell's the stadium?
Gillette
Stadium. I was there when that happened.
Really?
And you took that girl and ran a marathon. I couldn't run my knees, but no. And you with your knee, how the fuck did you train for that? Like that's an accomplishment. That's unbelievable what you did. Impressive, Copy.
Believe it or not, it happened by accident, and it really did. So, when I retired, we came back home. So my wife's like, "Okay, we got to make some decisions." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" she says, we either got to stay in New Jersey for another 10 or 12 years or we got to come back to Boston. And I'm like, why? She's like, well, the kids got to go to school. Alex was starting to get into junior high. And
Yeah.
she's like, we just can't keep moving the kids around. It's not fair to them. And it's not healthy. So I'm like, oh, now I start to think. We were away 25 years. Like I said, I've known her I was 15, she was 13. So there wasn't any secrets of what each other was thinking at that point. So she had lost her mother. My dad had a stroke. And you just start to think that, the family's a little bit bigger than the game right now. So we decided to come back, and I just played with the kids. She went to work. I did all this lacrosse, baseball, hockey, football, everything. And I actually got you get caught up in the hockey and you get caught up with the health because they take care of it for you and they do it for you. Like my wife comes in one time, she says, I made you an appointment. I said, for what? She says, a physical. I said, I don't need a physical. She says, you haven't gone in 7 years. I'm like, what do you mean 7 years? That's how long I was out for before I realized how out of shape and really sick I was. Right. So I started to come back in shape. I go to the doctor, and he don't know this guy. He starts looking at me. He takes the blood pressure 4 or 5 times. He takes the blood, and he's like, he sits at the desk and he's writing out all this stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? He says, these are prescriptions. I said, for what? He said, blood pressure, high this, that. And I said, nah. I said, I don't need that. What do you mean you don't need it? I said, I got the message. I was like 35 pounds heavy, 40 pounds heavy. But you don't see it,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he says, I'll give you 3 months, and the numbers better change. He says, or you're going to kill yourself. I said, okay, I get it. So he says, I'm going to write one out for you. I said, one prescription? He says, yeah. I said, what's that? He goes, to a health club. I said, you don't have to do that either. He says, why? I says, I have one in my house. He goes, you don't use it? I said, no, my wife uses it every day. So I got the message, and it took a long time. So we have this one pond that's 3.5 miles around that my wife walked every day, 2-3 times a lap every day. So I started walking with her and started slowly getting back into shape. And so a few months later, I said to her, listen, come a half hour later. I said, I'm going to run 10-minute miles. I'm going to run the pond. Ran it. Next couple months later, I'm going to do 2 laps. I'm going to do 7 miles. So one day, it was so beautiful out. I'm running and running and running. I felt like Forrest Gump. And I had a watch, and it went off. And it said, congratulations, you just ran a half marathon. I'm like, holy shit. I said, really? I feel great. I'm like, I might be able to do this. So that was like in August. I went to high school with a kid, Freddie Braz, BC, went to BC. He was an Olympic runner. He was a world-class marathoner. He ran 2:16s, 2:14s. So I said to Freddie, I said, listen, I was 52. I said, if I'm 52, I said, can I run a marathon? And I said, and I want to break 4 hours. I said, I just don't want to run it in 7 and say I ran a marathon. I said, I want it with purpose. He says, give me 8 months and we can do it. I said, good. Over the 8 months, I ran over 750 miles. And the first marathon I did in 3.5 because of the training, because of my coach.
It was unbelievable. Good for you. Good for you.
So the next one, I was so impressed at the marathon. There's guides that guide blind guides that can sprint, and they're tied together. And I was just so overwhelmed by how many different people run marathons for different reasons. So I want to do it again, but I didn't want to do it for myself. I didn't want to say, I'm going to break my record. I want to do 3:25. I really wanted to run with a blind guide. And so this lady that does all the charities, she starts talking about all these different charities. We can do this, we can do that. I can find you a blind guy. I can do this, we can do that. And we started talking about Denner. And I'm like, yeah. I said, I know Denner. I know Denner well. I said, Alex and her played against him forever. And I said, I played high school with the father. I said, I played on teams with him and against him. And she says, well, let's see if we can get them on board to do it. So we got hooked up with Dick and Richard Hoyt. Yeah. They made the carriage. They made the carriage for us, and it was just an incredible project. Again, the coach trained us how to do it. She really couldn't run outside because she couldn't monitor her temperatures. So I used to put sandbags in, and running around town with sandbags in a wheelchair. But
Wow.
that was incredible. That was great. That was really good.
And
That was one of
how
the best
long did
things.
it take, Copy, with Denna?
We did 4:15.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, we did 4:15.
Good for you. God bless you, buddy.
So
you know what?
That is unbelievable.
One of the most unbelievable things about that. So the first ones that go are the hand chairs, and then the laid back chairs go second. So we're the third group that goes, and we only had, I think, 12 of us. So we got the whole course to ourselves. There's not a person, there's not a runner, there's nothing, nobody. So we started to go, then all of a sudden a truck passed us, and they got 4 or 5 levels of cameras. And we're like, holy shit, the elite runners must be coming. No way, here they come, right? So all the elite runners, there's probably 15 elite runners in the group, 18 that have a chance to win it, and they set them off different. Every single one, whether it was when the males passed us and the females passed us, they all said hi.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Like we were more important than the race.
Yeah.
It was
That
pretty
is
cool.
crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty
Majority
cool.
of people would have took the scripts. You know, when the doc was writing those scripts,
Yeah.
majority of people would have been like,
I
yeah,
got the message.
not like, hey, I'm good. I'm going to go run a marathon.
Give me the pills.
You know what I mean? Like,
Give me the easy way out.
like most, yeah, seriously, it's incredible.
Like I said, I felt bad. I felt so bad, but you don't want to admit it,
Yeah. So, Copy, that awesome accomplishment. I look at you. Now, you've had your daughter, obviously, Alex. You got Bobo and Brendan, is it?
Brendan, yeah.
Brendan. Alex, having played in the Olympics, world championships, unbelievable. She won gold medals, 2 silvers in the Olympics. How proud are you as a dad seeing that? I'm sure you're proud of all your kids, but just let's stick with Alex at the beginning. Having never got to play in an Olympics, to see her out on that. How proud were you as a papa, you and your lovely wife, Julie?
I get this a lot because she's so successful, and it's not pride at all. It's happiness that they're successful at what they wanted to do. You're just happy for them because that's what they want. And nobody works harder than Alex, and Bobo works hard too. Brendan's Brendan. He was a football player, so he had a different mentality towards sports than the other two. But it's just, you're just so happy that it's paying off for them, and the Olympics, like you said, it's crazy. I mean, she's done 2, she missed the 1, and she's getting ready to go to this one. And she's just getting better and better and better. That women's league is awesome for them.
She's in New York, right?
She's in New York. Yeah. And, so this is Alex. She just wants to do stuff better and better and better than anybody else. So she had got 2 overtime goal games in a row, consecutive games. And they said, oh, no girl has ever done that. Well, she wasn't stopped with that. The 3rd game, she got the overtime goal again. Like, I'm not finished. And that's her mentality. That's her attitude, Bobo, he was a great player. Hopefully he has a chance. Unfortunately, he went to BU, had a great career at BU, but
Saw that.
he's got the injury bug. He's had 3 major shoulder surgeries in 3 years.
Yeah.
So he hasn't played a full year of 4 years. So he's healthy now. He's down in the East Coast League in Florida. It's the first time I got a chance to see him. We went down to see him play because he was always hurt. He's doing great. He's got 22 goals. He's playing really good. So hopefully he can get up to that American League and see what happens. He's only 27, but he's a really, really good player. But you can't miss 3 years. It's hard.
Yeah, it is. There's no question about it.
Well, he's doing great.
Certainly wish him luck. And yeah, Copy. Geez.
I got a question. I got a quick question.
Sure.
This is what I do at the end. I played for the guy for like 5 months, and I can write a book on him. What was it like to coach with Mike Keenan?
Oh, that was awesome. It was one of the best years I ever had. And I loved
over
it.
in Russia. In Russia?
Over in Russia and China, yeah. But oh my God, I used to say it once a week. I said, Mike, this is awesome, but I could have never have played for you. Never, ever, ever
He's
played
nuts.
for you.
Do you have any good stories? You have any good stories?
Oh gosh. Just the way he'll turn on somebody, the things he says and stuff. It's just it just cracked me up. Like, you know, no, I don't. I mean, like we had Igor Kravchuk too with us, so he was really level-headed. He was like definitely the most mature, best coach that we had, other than me and Mike. Me and Mike had a lot of fun. It was a great year. We had a ton of fun. We really did. I loved working with him. And then he got replaced. We only had a few games left, so they asked me to take over. So I talked to Mike before because I never wanted to take his job. And then we went down to Florida, to his place in Florida, and hung out for a while. And I really enjoyed Mike, but I could never play with him. Just the stories.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, was he very superstitious? Like when I played for him, it was like 18-minute morning skate every morning skate. Like was never past the, you know, like he was.
No, he didn't really, not like that. No, he didn't really. We had the same. We did a lot of the same stuff. He was good. He was like Pat Burns in a way. They were phenomenal bench coaches. And if you weren't playing well early, that was it. They'd make changes and you were gone. You know, you had to explain to these players, you better be ready at the beginning, or you're going to be sitting on the bench. And Pat was a great bench coach. Mike was a great bench coach. Didn't really watch the videos, didn't really care for the videos and stuff like that. Right. It was just the game, you know, the game.
I know what I see. I know what I see.
Yeah, he's funny, man. He's great.
Yeah, it's true. You know, they're good like that. And, you know, it was interesting because through Pat, I learned to kind of help my kids in a way. Every player has a really, really, really tough time of being really honest of self-evaluation. It's really hard to do. And everybody lies to themselves, and the coach isn't talking to me, he's talking to somebody else. And so with Pat, I had to work with Patrick Elias a lot because, you know, Patrick would not start well, and Mike would, Pat would put him on the third line, and Pat Elias would sulk and everything. And we walked through this process about the start of the game and getting into it, showing this and everything. So the hockey's a great game because it's so long and you get so many different shifts and opportunities to change it around. And so what I used to tell the kids all the time is, in the start of the game, I say, after 5 minutes, evaluate yourself. How's it going? And like Boba would say, oh, it's going great. I said, really? I said, you lost 3 faceoffs, you're -2. I said, how's that good? Right? Well, what do you want me to do? I said, well, you got plenty of time to change it around. Know that it's not going well. And so now, after years later, when either kid would call me and I didn't see the game, I knew exactly what they did. They told me the truth because I know how they play. It was a pretty great tool to be able to teach the kids that. Self-evaluation is great. But it's hard
I wonder where you learned that, Copy, because I learned it from Lemaire. I'll never forget.
The first one. Yeah.
I'll never forget. This is one of his biggest things, Tim. I guess I had a shitty game because I wasn't being honest with myself. And he came up to me, he said after the game, he said, how do you think you played? I said, I thought pretty good. You know, not bad. I've been better, been worse. He said, you were terrible. Be honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. It's the most difficult thing for a player to be honest with the way he plays. The most difficult. Be honest with yourself and you're going to get better. Right at the beginning, he told me that. I'm like, fuck you. You know, I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah, Mike Keenan was the
he got honest for you.
I would go home and be like, is my wife fat? He called my wife fat.
But that's where it came from, no question. Copy, one of my all-time favorite teammates you are. There's no question. You're a good person. I just absolutely love you. And happy that life is good for you and your family, and really, really good stuff. I got one more I want to ask. A couple quickies. USA Hockey Hall of Fame. How cool is that for you? Is that your biggest honor?
No question. Absolutely. No question at all. I mean, they were. USA Hockey basically didn't really handle the Hall of Fame at the time. It was a group from Evelyn that, they would pick and choose.
Yeah.
So it was not very good. There was a lot of people missing. And so USA Hockey got involved and they said, okay, we are going to do it and we're going to pick the players. We were the first class to go in. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We had Aaron Broughton, the Beezer. It was really, really good because it wasn't like if it was a gift. It was the first time that they really honored a class, and it was pretty special. It was pretty special.
Cool. You deserve it. There's no question about it.
Thank you.
And I'm going to leave you with this last one. What, if you could write your own eulogy, what would the first line of that be?
Unlike most of you, I actually liked them.
I thought it was going to be like, I can't miss.
I can't miss.
That's great.
That's cool. Copy.
No, I would say, without not joking, I would say, honestly, because I understand how lucky I was, how gifted I was, you worked hard for it, but it doesn't matter. A lot of people work hard. They still don't accomplish what I did, but you have to have some skill and ability that was given to me. Understanding that, all I do now is all these events, charity events, the marathons, like that one race with Denna, we raised $100,000 for their physical therapy place. I mean,
that's awesome.
Exactly. And I just would like someone to, recognize what they do, that you gave back. It just didn't take. Didn't take something to go forward with it. I'm giving a lot more back than I ever got from it.
Right.
No
That's
question.
a good thing. That's a good thing.
It is.
Too bad more people in the world aren't in the position to do that, or are and they don't do it. So good on you.
No question. No kidding. But anytime anybody needs help, any event, I'm the first one there. Well,
I appreciate that, Copy, and I think
thank you. This was great.
I might tap into you at some point for that.
Sure.
Maybe get you a trip to Montreal somehow. Everybody loves coming to Montreal.
You like the golf? You like the golf? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see you guys play up there all the time. That looks like fun. And I didn't have the chance to do it. I was so mad that I missed them. I was really good friends with Steph Riche because we had to play in the same line, and it was kind of my job to
babysit,
to push him. Well, I'm not going to say that because I love Steph too much.
No, I love Steph too.
Where Bobo was playing, we have a neighbor here that had an extra house because he sold it, but it wasn't quite ready yet, so we got to stay there. It was the same development that Steph was in at the golf course down there in
okay, right down by He moved out of there.
Benito Springs, but I think he moved back.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think he moved. They did move out, and they said he moved back, but he wasn't there when I was there. I didn't get a chance to see him. I was so disappointed. But he goes out and plays those games, doesn't he?
He plays some. I haven't seen him. I stopped playing. I coach now. They let me coach, which is nice because I have my knee replaced and shit. I don't.
Right.
Yeah. I'm finally slowing up at 66, but, keep moving though. Keep moving.
Yeah.
Life is good.
You have to. It is.
Life is good. I'm stuck with this fucking guy now in the middle.
Yeah. Things turned out well for Knox. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Raw Knuckles podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.